Hello and welcome to our podcast here at VIPAC. Today we will talk about the recent Hungarian elections, the results and the consequences for Hungary and Europe. Our guest today is Hungarian journalist Lukács Csaba, Managing Director of Magyar Hang. Good morning. Magyar Hang is the second largest independent newspaper.
Good morning.
Of Hungary. Since 1998, he worked for several news outlets, Magyar Nemzet and Karpat Press amongst them. He also works as a media specialist for the Hungarian Baptist Aid, which is currently involved in helping Ukrainian refugees in Hungary. On April 3rd, the Hungary elections were conducted. The widespread opposition coalition from the right to the left hoped that this time they had a shot in winning against longtime Premier Viktor Orban. This didn't work out. In fact, Orban's Fidesz party even gained 2 seats and won the two-third majority again. How did it come to this result, and what is the role of Hungary's voting system in this?
It was a surprise for every of us, that winning of Fidesz. So he got the 4th consecutive two-third majority in the parliament, which was unexpected. The survey was showing that they will win. So the winning was not an unexpected thing, but the march was really huge. And there are different, answers. Of course, everybody doesn't know the right answer for why they won in so large majority, but there are some aspects which could help to understand what's happened in Hungary. Like 10 years ago, Fidesz changed the government led by Fidesz started to change the media landscape of Hungary. And now they established a huge propaganda machinery, which can destroy people. So they are using the character killing against their political opponents. And of course, if you are living in a countryside, you probably don't have access to the independent media because the news outlets were closed. In the small villages, even the pubs are closing. So you have no opportunity to buy an independent newspaper. There is no regional newspaper which is not controlled by the Fidesz. There is no national radio which is not spreading propaganda. And of course, the public television, it's pure propaganda. Unfortunately, they are spreading pure Kremlin propaganda at this moment. So like 85% of Hungarian media, it's controlled totally by the Fidesz. They are spreading only the governmental and the political messages of the Fidesz. And also they organized a very well established system of, I don't know the right term for it. It's kind of, everything depends on the local mayor, on the local party leader. And they are controlling the European funds and even the governmental funds. And if you want to do something in a countryside, you have to have a good relations with the local Fidesz leader and the local mayor. And of course, they are controlling for who you are voting. And also they changed the media, the voting system. So in that condition, it's nearly impossible for opposition to win. And I was personally applying for voting counters. 20,000 civil people were going to countryside to control the elections, because in the last elections, like like 30-40% of the polling station, there was nobody from the opposition, so they could do what they want. And that was a civil movement in Hungary to gain 20,000 independent persons to go to control the elections. And I was going in a countryside in a small village when like 40% of the inhabitants are belonging to the Roma minority. I could see that how much poor and uneducated people were coming. They were not even able to sign up the vote when they picked up the voting ballots. They were not able to sign up their names, but they were sent to vote for Fidesz. So I personally has to show for like 100 person where to put the X on the ballot system, because they could even read what was written there, but they know that I have to vote for Orban. Orban was not on the list. So I had to explain that, okay, if you are willing to vote for Orban, you have to put the X here to the Fidesz, because Orban is the leader of the Fidesz. So it was a very well organized, they set up a very well organized system, which has different legs. The media, the propaganda, they can kill everybody in political term, because they have a very efficient way to spread the fake news against everybody. So Markizoy, when he won the pre-selection for being the leader of the opposition, has to face with an extremely hard fake news campaign. So he was put on billboards. Fidesz has 8 times more billboards on the street than the opposition. That's another reason why they could get this result. So the total system in Hungary now is unbalanced, and it's favorizing the Fidesz.
Thank you. This is, of course, a very strong argument. But let me maybe go a little bit deeper into also a little bit of the recent history of the last, let's say, 30 years. My first time in Hungary looking for family roots was in 1986, and then subsequently almost every year. And at that time, and I would say until the mid to end 90s, Hungary and the former Yugoslavia as well, parts of it at least, could have been said to be the most liberal or liberally minded people within the Warsaw Pact. And Hungary was already then more open than others were. What happened fundamentally in Hungarian society? Because despite of all the power Fidesz now has or has gained in the last 15 years or so, some discontent must have arisen within at least half of the people. Could you speak to that? Because to me, that is not entirely clear.
Mm-hmm. You know, when was the system changing in Hungary? Like 1 million workers were losing their job. So for Hungarians, every change means instability. And probably they found a father figure in Orban who can promise them stability, and even the war was helping that. So the Fidesz and the Orban government is very professional. They are spending a lot of money to do surveys. And when the war started in 24th of February, they keep silence for 3-4 days. So we could see that Orban doesn't know what to do. They were doing research. I am sure that they spend a lot of money to do research on society, what to do in this moment. And after that, they started immediately with their huge propaganda machinery to spread the message, strategic calm. And we have to keep away from the war. So they found the very important thing, which is something essential for Hungarians to keep in calm and to do not be involved in a war situation. And that was working for them at the election. So the people forget that Orban is a good friend of Putin. We are very close to the Russians. They forgot it that totally, and they understood only one thing: if Orban will remain on the power, we will not go to the war, and we will be safe. And of course, that's, I don't know if it's true or not, but they found the best efficient way to speak in a war situation, which is important for the people as well. And also they made some kind of deal with the population. We have a term, it's called rezsicsökkentés. I don't know the term in English, so it means that the prices for gas, for electricity, for water, for everything, it's stabilized by the government. The difference it's paid by the taxpayers, but now we have to pay the less money in the Europe for gas, for electricity, and for water. It was invented by Fidesz like 8 years ago, and of course that's a very unfair system, because even the rich people can heat their pool and their big houses with a governmental price, and it's paid by somebody else. So we have like a communist system of prices for the basic needs for the people, which means them stability. So if you are going now to the gas station in Hungary, you have to pay around €1.20 for a 1 liter of benzene, which is the most cheapest, the cheapest one in Europe. And the difference is paid by the government. So Orban made a deal with people, with ordinary people, and they feel that stability is related by the Fidesz, and they want stability, so they are voting for Fidesz.
You can if you want.
Yes, then let's stay there. Let's stay with the situation with Russia. I mean, it's the big elephant in the room, or the small elephant, because Vladimir is quite small, and incidentally also the Fidesz leader Orban. I saw him once. He's also quite small, but that's another story. The Russian situation. We are aware that there are several big projects like power plants and stuff, where the Russians have been paying. Parallel to that, though, the European Union has been paying out hundreds of millions to Hungary,
Yep.
which is a member of the European Union. So what's going on there? Is a majority of the Hungarians now firmly in the Putin camp? So are they getting ready to leave the European Union, or do they want to keep taking the money from both sides?
The Kremlin propaganda works in Hungary as well. So unfortunately, I can see even in my friends' Facebook wall that they are spreading pure fake news from propaganda. And also Sunday will be a pro-Russia march in Budapest, which is ridiculous. So a huge amount of Fidesz voters are pro-Kremlin and pro-Putin. And even the public television is spreading pure Russian propaganda. So Orban was saying in his press conference after elections that what was happening in Bucha, we don't know. We have to investigate. So he is trying to play a double game, of course. Now we are willing to pay for Russian gas in ruble. So we are voting in EU all major, laws against Russia, but we are trying to get a shortcut to avoid the conflict with Putin. So Orban playing a double game. And I am sure that if he will decide to leave EU, his propaganda machinery will be strong enough to convince the Hungarians that that's a good choice to us. At this moment, 60% of the Hungarian society is pro-EU, but it can be changed extremely fast because they have enough power and enough billboards and minutes on public television and in the newspapers to convince the people that, okay, we are against Brussels, they are against us. So Brussels is trying to humiliate Hungarians. So we have to leave the EU. So we don't know yet what will be the Orban's decision. Of course, he is expecting a lot of money from EU, so he will not made a quick decision for that. But consolidation as a term, it's not exist in Orban's vocabulary. So for years, he has been using a war rhetoric, talking about a full court offensive, the final victory, the total annihilation of the enemy. So he's not able to make a consolidated situation with EU or between Hungarian society. So he is made for fighting. And if the Brussels will not step back, we will fight with Brussels. I'm 100% sure.
In his victory speech, he even said, we won a victory so big that you can see it from the moon and you can certainly see it from Brussels.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
guess.
all his politics, it's built up on fighting. So we have to have enemies every time. The first enemies were the migrants, now the LGBT people, or the gypsies, or I don't know, Soros was another strong enemy, the communist, Gyurcsány. So every time we are in a war situation and we have to fight against anybody.
But let us stay here, because this is not only an issue in Hungary. I think the most scary aspect about this is that, including the US, a large percentage of the population is involved in a backlash against what we would call modernity or a liberal mindset. How does this play out? Why do you think that is, like as an individual between us, regardless of where we're from? What is happening? Why are they running to those really small little men who are behaving as if they were in the 20th century? I really don't get it. What did this? Tell me. I don't know.
In my opinion, the people doesn't want to think. So it's easier for them to accept like a clear situation and easy to understand situation. So they are thinking in a black and white colors. And that, populist politicians realize that they have to put them easy to understand messages. So even Fidesz, it's using that stuff. They don't have program since 2010. They had 3 letters as a program. We will continue. They didn't say what they will continue, but their program this time at the elections was we will continue. So they are not trying to explain, detailed situation for the voters. They are operating in very direct messages. We will stop this. We will kill this. And it's easy to understand. And the people want to find, easy answers for their questions. They have problems, of course. In Hungary, we have more and more people who have serious economical problems, and they want to find answers why I am in a desperate situation. And it's much easier to understand that, he's the sinner for that. To understand that, okay, I made mistakes in my life. I don't have the proper education. I don't have a good job, so it's my fault that I am in that situation. That's not good to believe. So it's much easier to believe that somebody else causing me that situation. Mm. So I think that democracy it's too vulnerable. We could not find answers for those kind of politicians who are operating in a basic language, in a basic way. So against populism, we have no tools to fight against them. So I am so, I cannot see a bright future for democracy. So we have to find a solution against populist politicians and against populist movements, because in that way we are going to collapse, or society will be destroyed with those kind of simplified and black and white kind of viewing the things.
What is the situation about the educated people in Hungary? Like in Russia, we now hear that they are fleeing the country as if they can, of course. What is the situation in Hungary? Did they also leave in the last 10, 15 years?
The youth are leaving.
Yeah.
And also we could see very clearly on the surveys that if you have higher education, you are voting less and less for the Fidesz. So Fidesz is most popular under the rural people and mostly in uneducated people. So in a small village where everybody is or retired or unemployed, they get like 80% or 90%. In the big cities like Budapest, where the high educated, well-paid people are living, they lost the elections. So there is a very strong correlation between age, educational level, and economical level against Fidesz and opposition.
Like in many other countries,
yeah.
The brain drain is incredible, but that started already like after 89, relatively soon. Yeah. And in Bulgaria, it's over 30% of the under 30.
In Romania, so I was born in Romania, so I know the Romanian situation. Millions of Romanians were fleeing.
Yeah, catastrophic. Even in the Czech Republic now, it's hard to find a doctor that is not coming now from the Ukraine. So that's another story. But let us try to be a little bit not optimistic, because that's really hard. I would like to be proactive. Having followed the media situation in Hungary with great interest, actually starting already in 87, 88, 89, free radios, very exciting music scene, very exciting art scene for me personally, I have to say. And then a renaissance of media in the early 90s, the way I saw it. Now, you've been a media person for a very long time. How do you actually operate now? Because there's been such a devastating progression of destruction of free media. How do you do it? Like personally, how does your newspaper operate? What can one do? Where do you get resources? How do you stay alive and positive enough to do this?
I was born in a dictatorship during the Ceausescu regime in Romania, and I never expected that those time will back again in Hungary. So step by step, we are getting closer to that situation. So now it's almost impossible to get information from the governmental side. So we are not allowed to go to their press conferences. Orban held a press conference after the elections, but we were not allowed to go because they are considering us as enemy and the traitors. And Magyar Hang, the Hungarian voice, is not allowed to enter to a governmental press conference. We are not getting answers from our emails. So if we are sending them questions, of course, they are not answering. We are not getting interviews from the governmental politicians. But not only us are in the same situation. The independent media is the same situation. Let me say one quite interesting example. With politics almost completely isolated from journalists and the public, we are knowing very little about the new government as well. So only one thing was leaked out is that Orban is holding out until the last minute, trying to save his loyal foreign minister, of course. If international pressure does not ease because of the Hungarian government pro-Russian stance, he will sacrifice Péter Szijjártó. But we don't know yet what will happen. So we are like days far from the new government, and we don't know nothing about what will happen. So the situation is quite interesting, let me say that. The delivery of newspaper is controlled by a state-owned Hungarian post. So we don't know if they will decide to do not deliver a newspaper, we could do nothing. And I'm expecting that our situation will be more, harder. Will be harder because Orban trying to get 100% of media. So he will not say, okay, 80% is enough, let's stay in calm and leave them alone. So we are expecting that we will have some hard issues to print, to deliver, to sell the newspaper. Of course, our newspaper is not permitted to print in Hungary, so we are printing in Slovakia. So every week we have to organize, it's a logistical issue to bring our newspapers from Slovakia to Hungary because nobody is brave enough to print us. Nobody is brave enough to advertise in our newspaper. So we are living exclusively on readers' money, which is good because we have enough readers at this moment. But we could have some administrational punishment or obstacles to because if Fidesz wants to do this, he could do this. So we are expecting more pressure on us. I don't believe that everything will be okay after the fourth victory of Fidesz, and now they will step back and they will say, okay, let's consolidate, let's have a peace. We have a public media which is close to North Korean media. I was in North Korea, so I can compare it. So only one more thing to explain. The whole opposition was present in the public media for 5 minutes in the campaign. 5 minutes for whole opposition in a campaign when, of course, there was no prime minister candidates debate. There was no, there was nothing. Only pure propaganda. Only the Fidesz. And in total 5 minutes for opposition, and it was aired at 8 o'clock at the morning, so which is ridiculous.
Just let's stay a little bit with the media. What is the situation with the internet now? Because it has got two sides. We all know it's the
of course internet is free. Internet
Are you
is
present?
free, but we have surveys that of course the media consumption is not for the regular people, is not like for a university teacher. So of course you could reach everything on the internet, but in the countryside where even they have no tap water, you could not expect that everybody will buy a laptop and they will Google it for independent news. They have a television, they have a radio. In the television, they could reach only the public's television and one commercial. Of course, we have 2 big commercial TV stations, RTL, which is independent, but they are a commercial television, so they are not during politics. They have a news, and in the news, they have 5 minutes for political news, which is 5 minutes in 24 hours. But if you are turning on the M1, which is the public station, they have 24 hours per day for pure propaganda. And of course, we have another commercial station, TV2, which is totally controlled by Fidesz as well. So if you are watching for a football game, during the break, you will find a 5 minutes news, pure propaganda. So internet, of course, is free. We have huge websites which are independent, and you can find investigative journalism, independent news on that, but not everybody can afford, and it is not everybody's daily, daily stuff to Google it for independent news. So in our surveys, came out that like 80% of the countryside people are consuming media on TV and on local newspaper, which is 100% controlled by the Fidesz. So yes, for your for your questions, the answer is yes. Internet is free, but internet is not so efficient in Hungary, especially in rural and low-educated people, between low-educated people. And from internet, you could not survive. So we have, of course, we have a web page as well, but we could earn from advertising on the internet. We could earn like 200-300 euro per month, which is not enough even for one salary. And we have 32 journalists. So on internet in Hungary, unfortunately, there was no model like in Slovakia that the people will subscribe for content. So everybody is used that in internet, everything is for free. And you could not produce good quality articles without funding, without financing. And if somebody is paying for it, of course, their interest will be shown on the newspaper. So, of course, internet, it's working in Hungary. It's not forbidden, but it's not so efficient, unfortunately, yet, especially in the countryside.
Coming back to the international political level, how is the Visegrad connection doing? I guess there are quite big troubles now in the positions concerning Russia, because Poland, of course, is very
in
much
my
against
turn,
Russia.
The Visegrad 4, it's over. So
okay.
We get some extremely interesting messages even from the Kaczynski and the Poland side that it's over. So if the Orban will not change his mind with the Putin connection, the Visegrad 4, it's over. So we could see that Orban became quite lonely in the international field. But for him, it's not a big issue. So he's like he was saying that he's a street fighter. So for him, that situation, it's comfortable. So of course, if we will not receive money from Brussels, that would be an issue, because they spend a lot of money on elections. They get an extra pension for elderly people. They get a lot of money, tax money back for those people who are raising a child. So they spent a lot of money on election. And now, of course, there is a 20% inflation in Hungary. Of course, the war made a big trouble in economy. So now the new government has to face in a big economical crisis. And we don't know how they can handle this. But I am sure that Orban will find an enemy extremely fast to point on him and say, oh, okay, we are in trouble, but it's because of him, because of Brussels, because of, I don't know, who will be the next. He will find extremely fast somebody who is the winner, who is the sinner. So for Orban, doesn't matter if he's alone. Of course, Poland was a loyal partner of Hungary to blackmail EU in some important issues. So when it was a question of veto, Poland and Hungary was always on the same side. But now that friendship, it seems to be over. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that Orban will change his mind. So that pro-Putin or anti-Putin question, it's a very tough question for even those illiberal politicians. So when Orban was trying to make an illiberal coalition, he was unsuccessful because of that. Because some of illiberals are pro-Putin, extremely hard. Hungarian commercial bank was giving a loan for Marine Le Pen, like 10 million euros for her campaign. And also Marine Le Pen was a pro-Putin, but she is a pro-Putin person, but now she's trying to depart from that, of course. But when Orban was trying to make this illiberal coalition, the main question why he was unsuccessful, it was that pro or anti-Putin topic. So I am not expecting that the situation with Poland will be better, because Orban will not change his mind on Putin friendship. So he will be alone, but that's not a problem. So he likes to fight. So his playground is to fight with, of course.
And maybe he will have another friend, like the big question in the Ukraine is, what is China doing? And what's the relation of Orban with China? How strong is China already in Hungary in the background?
We pushed out the Central European University, the American University, and we invited the Fudan University to Hungary. So we are trying to have as good connections with those illiberal countries as possible. So Orban is a good friend with Erdogan, with Putin, with the Chinese leader. So we are constructing an extremely unuseful but extremely expensive train road from Belgrade to Hungary from Chinese loan. So of course we are dealing with China, and we are trying. There was a NATO request a couple of years ago to do not use for 5G system the Chinese equipment. Hungary was the only EU country which was opting for Huawei. So we are not respecting even the agreements between EU and NATO. So we are on our special way, and of course we are making business with Chinese companies as well. So.
Given this, and thank you for this very, very clear information, I think the answer is here right on the table. Given this illiberal push successful, unfortunately, and let's see what happens in France. I think it's going to be tight for Macron, but he's going to win. But anyway, let's look at that. What strategies can an opposition have? What strategies can a liberal person, we all, I at least openly declare myself as liberal. There isn't all good.
And conservative, but close to liberal. So liberal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think but I think that's important. Yeah, I'm also not into the pronoun game and all of that complete idiocy. But what can an opposition do? Because the question is not only any longer just in Hungary. It concerns too many European countries and worldwide. What would you say as a journalist? How can we approach people who probably due to the lack of education or lack of access are continuously voting this way?
To be honest, we don't know. Even there is a debate between opposition or between oppositional, oppositional leaders, that if they have to pick up their mandate on the parliament or not in that situation. So we don't know which strategy would be better. If they will stay out from parliament and they will say that, oh, that was an unfair elections, unbalanced conditions, and we are not playing your game and we are not going to the parliament, or to be present in the parliament and starting to trying to make some changes from the parliament. So to be honest, I don't know what to do at this situation. Of course, we will continue. We were making a statement on our newspaper, copying the Fidesz program, that our statement about the future of Hungarian voice, we will continue. So we are journalists. We are not fortune tellers. We are not, I don't know, experts of sociology or society. So we are doing journalism. We are writing good reports, what is happening on countryside, but we don't know in political term what could be a best solution to defeat that kind of system. So in my opinion, there is only one way to defeat Orban if the Fidesz will collapse himself, or there will be somebody, or there will be some movements inside of the Fidesz, or even if the economical problem will start for their oligarchs to fight for the money, and they will kill each other or they will fight against each other. But I'm not sure in that system, which was made extremely professional, with different legs, with propaganda, with electoral system, with the deal with the ordinary people, with small money. So I don't believe that they could be defeated in any way. So maybe international pressure is not enough. So in a very lucky situation, if some different pressure will be enough to make some changes, but the media and the opposition is not enough in Hungary now at this moment to put enough pressure on Fidesz to make some changes.
In your Facebook account, I saw that you're reporting a lot about the Ukrainian refugees.
Yeah, I was in Ukraine as well. Yeah.
So how is the situation of the Ukrainians in Hungary at the moment? Because there are also quite a lot, as far as I read.
Yeah, but of course we are tricky with that as well. So the Hungarian governments make statements every day that how many Ukrainians were coming to Hungary, but they are not saying how many of them left Hungary to the west. So of course, even in Budapest, I could see cars with the with the Ukrainian car plates, and I could hear some Ukrainians. Of course, a lot of them were coming, but who are staying still in Hungary? Mostly of them are with Hungarian origins. You know, in the Subcarpathian region, we have some Hungarians who are Ukrainian citizens. And the other ones who are still staying in Budapest, they are the rich Ukrainians who have money. So they were coming with the good cars. They can afford to buy a hotel rent, or they even bought a house in Budapest or a flat. So we could not expect that there will be a huge humanitarian crisis. And also there is a lack of workforce in Hungary. So those Ukrainians who are speaking Hungarians, for them, it's extremely easy to get a job immediately. Most of them have also Hungarian citizenship. So it's not an issue to get a tax number and to go for work next day even. So I'm not expecting that that will be a huge humanitarian crisis here. I think even it started because the war, it was not extending on Subcarpathian region, so some of Ukrainians started to go back home, because in Beregovo and in Munkachevo, in that western part, there is no war, so they could return home. So I think that question or that topic will be not so heavy in the next weeks or months.
Okay. You have any more questions, Sasha?
Many, but let me finish with a very local question. I have a Hungarian Croatian name due to my father's family coming from that region originally. Austria is known to have a rather tight history with Hungary and the whole region going into, of course, also Romania.
And Ukraine?
And the Ukraine, Chernovitz. What is the feeling towards the Austrians? What is, because when I'm thinking about Europe, I'm discovering that one of the problems, the major problem of Europe appears to me still the problems between the nations, What is our relationship? What do the people of the street think? Is there still something that we believe in together, or are we at the cusp of the union falling apart because of short-sighted national interests? Is there still something between the opening of the fall of the Iron Curtain? Is there still some memory? Have people forgotten 1956? Have they forgotten everything? Or is it just slumbering because modernity is so frightening?
It depends who are you voting for. So if you are a Fidesz voters, Austria means the decadent West, and the liberal, how do you say this, the liberal sinners, and everything which it's against, the family values and everything. And also it's a land of Conchita Wurst, which is the iconic figure of LGBT community, which, we had a national referendum against LGBT people these days. So it was a stick to the voting that LGBT referendum. So Austria means Conchita Wurst in the Fidesz voters at this moment. For the other ones, it's a place where to work, of course. So a lot of Hungarians are going to work for Austria, And for the intellectual ones, it's a place where the freedom is coming. So the people know this, that Central European University was moving to Vienna, of course. If I personally want to have a, you know, a breath of freedom, I'm going to Vienna to see a theater or to have a coffee on somewhere in the city center. So it's in Hungary, everything is related who you are voting for, unfortunately. Your political opinion wash your brains totally. So everything is related, if related on politics, and which is very unhealthy, of course. And the society is extremely divided. So I don't know how we can heal this kind of, you know, pain which was made by these elections as well. So I can see that if I am posting something, immediately we are receiving like thousands of hate speech on comments. So we have to block people regularly, so like hundreds in a day under our articles. So people became extremely stressed, and they are trying to humiliate each other. And unfortunately, even the opposition is not better in that way. So the hate speech became very common in Hungary on comments and even in a daily conversation. So if you are traveling in a public transportation in Budapest, you could see that the people are fighting with each other, not physically, but verbally. So I don't know how we can turn that hate, how we can put that situation in a normal way. So we are forgetting to be humans, unfortunately.
Same is happening, I think, also over here more and more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so sorry for that. So it was not optimistic, but I could not say. I don't want to be, you know, optimistic without reason. So.
Well, I will be optimistic with some reason. At least we got to talk to each other, and increasingly, I think that is what only thing one can do is those who are still willing to communicate and to listen to each other and to learn from each other have to intensify that. Thank you so much for your time. I hope we can meet again. I think it makes some sense to, in the not too distant future, call in again and see how you are doing, and vice versa. Thanks, Chris, and goodbye from České Budějovice.
Thank you also for your time, and all the best to you for your trip to USA tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck.